It's Sunday night in the booth. Welcome to episode 25 of the BBL show. I am Jay Marriott. He is Drew Lasker. How are you, Mr. Lasker?
I'm good, Jay. A win against a hot Phoenix team. Sunshine all weekend in the Northeast. Steaks on the grill. Life is good.
And when that weather improves, it sure brings a smile to everybody's face. Down south here, it sure has been beautiful. 2 days on the beach, so cannot complain. Okay, this week on the show, we introduce you to Great Britain basketball record breaker and Bristol Flyers floor general, Teddy Okereafor. We have news from around the league, scores and top performers, the fans' mailbag, the Lasker Lookback. But first, your social media spy comes in hot with the Marriot Minute. Okay, intrigued me. Sign-ins deadline day in the BBL got exciting. 3 deals done. Giants managed to bring Aaron Okereafor back to Manchester with a big name signing at the death. Worcester Wolves have brought in Elijah Burns to replace injured KJ Lawson. And sadly, Leicester Riders had to replace Zach Jackson through injury, bringing in Mustafa Heron. Welcome all to the league from us at the show. Plymouth Raiders with a big week for the club, celebrating 1,000 league games since their inception. Both myself and Mr. Lasker were able to play a part in the week. Some fantastic stories shared all week long. Great to walk down memory lane. Congrats to everyone involved in the club over the years, especially the fans. In conjunction with the celebration, Raiders coach Paul James celebrated his own milestone, 1,000 BBL games. A lot of big names joined the serenade, but Nick Nurse, Toronto Raptors and NBA champion, broke the internet as he popped up to share some memories. A great touch by him. Engaged me talking of the NBA. Coach Chris Finch, former coach of the Sheffield Sharks, has been named head coach of NBA outfit Minnesota Timberwolves. Congrats to Coach Finch. Legends episode guest Steve D'Agostino, also of Sheffield Sharks, called for British basketball to step forward, saying the amount of head coaches or staff in the NBA from our league is remarkable. DeAndre Liggins continues the wear bonnet beef, wearing a Kyrie Irving t-shirt stating, "I do not talk to pawns," in their game against the Scorchers. For me, a strange move. With Ware not playing, this did seem a little like those times in school where you sent your mate over to talk to the girl you fancied. One of the weirder beefs I've seen over the years, I must say. Amused me. Plenty of fun in the league-wide this week, starting with us. We hit the big leagues and featured on the Sky Sports Game, but outdated and wrong episodes showing. Exciting friend of the show, Gary Maitland, who featured in the board but has not yet been on the show. It must have been my wish list that they got over at the league, and we will soon be seeing Gary. Josh Betts, featuring regularly for Scorchers' halftime show, was threatened by the refs with a technical foul warning, despite simply being a fan at the game. That did tickle me greatly. A young Daniel Routledge was outed on social media, showing he was destined to always be involved in hoops, and that the curls are evidently a forever thing. Plymouth Raiders commentators Paul Nicholson and Pablo Cheeks have grown their cult following even more with sound checks that they were unaware were live. You have to give this a listen. 1, 2, 12, 49, 62. Wooden Spoon. Hilarious, guys. A lot of fun. You should check it out. And lastly, let's get that Newcastle Eagles energy for the start of our week. Footage courtesy of our very own host, Mr. Lasker, showing us a Michael Jackson homage in the car park. Give it a try yourself and tag us here at the show. Get your moves on. That's it for this week's Marriott Minute.
League action begins on Monday in the nation capital as the Newcastle Eagles fell to the Lions in the trophy quarters, 101-85. DeAndre Liggins led the way with 24 points and 9 assists. That ends the 2 consecutive trophy streak by the Newcastle Eagles. Wednesday night trophy quarters in the bottom bracket saw the Plymouth Raiders qualify to the semifinals with a 75-66 win and PJ's 1,000th coach game. Ricky McGill with 18 points and 3 rebounds. In Surrey, the improved Scorchers took the Lions to the brink with a shot to tie at the buzzer, but it bounced off as the Lions hold on to a 98-97 win. DeAndre Liggins making an MVP push with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 11 assists. It's Friday night. Action moves to Newcastle as the Eagles host the hot Phoenix, currently riding a 5-game win streak. Eagles back on track with a huge Evan Maxwell performance of 24 points and 5 rebounds, grabbing the dub 80-73. Sharks hosting the Giants, surviving a game-winning Cassell step back to win 81-80, with Cox stepping up with 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Down in Bristol, Teddy O and Ben Mockford riding that momentum train from Team GB's great week saw them take a comfortable win over the Scorchers, 89-67. Teddy O almost effed around and got a triple-double, finishing with 11 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists. In Devon, Glasgow made their longest trip of the season to face the Raiders on their 1,000th professional game, in which the Raiders prevailed 63-60. Like a good neighbor, Will led the way, 14 points and 7 rebounds. Sky TV matchup saw the streaking hot Riders take on the struggling Wolves. Down 2 in the dying seconds, the some way, somehow, Leicester Riders find an open Corey, better not leave him open, Johnson on the left wing for a game-winning 3. MVP favorite Gino Crandell with a double-double, 11 points and 11 assists. Moving on to Sunday, where the BBL had a 5-game slate to round off its action-packed weekend. We begin in Glasgow, where they round up a home-and-home against the Raiders. Game number 1001 for Plymouth, minus captain Ashley Hamilton, sees them blow away the Rocks 92-67. 6-man Ubiaro finishes with 18 points and 4 rebounds. We move down south to Sheffield, where the Sharks pick up a huge victory over the group of death nemesis and shorthanded London Lions, 83-72. Hemsley continues his hot form, finishing with 23 points and 4 assists. Sharks picking up their first league victory over the London Lions since October 20th, 2017. Wow. And another home and home down in Worcester. Riders with a chance to get some breathing room from Mufasa and the Lions, but Lamar Kimball hits a beautiful baseline teardrop over Jamel Anderson at the buzzer in OT, ending the Riders' long streak in the championship. Anderson caps it with 21 points and 4 assists. Down at Cheshire Oaks, Phoenix looking to bounce back after Friday's defeat, but Creon and the Surrey Scorchers held on after a game-saving block from Cameron Hildrich, winning 76-74. Ryan Richards beginning to get some momentum, finishing with 21 points and 6 rebounds. Up the road in Manchester in the final matchup of the weekend, Bristol flies high 93-89 with Josh Wilshire bagging 23 points and 7 assists. And that wraps up this week's action.
Man, great roundup. As always, Mr. Lasker, we go to the Player of the Week nominees. Let's start with London Lions. DeAndre Liggins is back with 20 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists for a 30 index. Also back is Newcastle Eagles guard Cortez Edwards with a 17 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists outing with a 26 index. And lastly, Bristol Flyers Aussie point guard Josh Wiltshire with a first feature, 23 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists for a 26 index. Not bad, having just turned 30. You old man. Okay, get your votes in via IG and Twitter. Now, the vibe has slowed down a little bit. Let's hear those velvety tones of the Lasker Lookback.
In this episode, I share the incredible milestone of Teddy Okereafor. After watching that amazing game winner by Luke Nelson, which punched Great Britain a ticket into the EuroBasket 2022 competition, I can still hear play-by-play Jeff Taylor's unforgettable call. He puts it up. Luke Nelson has done it. Unbelievable. What a play. What a way to win it for Great Britain. And the whole British community rejoices in unison across Twitter. In the background, Okereafor had a celebration of his own as he quietly stitched himself in the record books, becoming the consecutive games record holder for Great Britain's national team, held by Billy McInnes for 45 years. And by the way, also joining the 200 assist club on the international scene. Teddy made his debut for the Great Britain's men's national team in a close international test match against New Zealand in 2015. Fast forward 6 years later, he breaks the 45-year record, which was held up since 1976. Just to provide some perspective, in 76, Steve Jobs had started some company called Apple Computers. Also during that year, some film called Rocky was released. Jimmy Carter was the president of the United States. James Callaghan was the prime minister of the United Kingdom. Fidel Castro becomes president of Cuba. So long ago, one of the top hits that year were Four Seasons. Oh, what a night. And what a night it was for Teddy Okereafor. And that is your Lasker Lookback.
Man, fantastic way of leading us into our esteemed guest today, great British point guard, Great Britain point guard, and history maker, Bristol Flyers floor general, Teddy Okereafor.
The screen. Snakes to the pick and roll. Nice pass into
Lovely
Delpesh.
pass. Teddy O is in the building. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Hey, Teddy, let's clear up one thing because I've heard your last name pronounced so many different ways. For clarity on the BBL show, how do you pronounce your last name?
Okereafor.
Okereafor. See, I haven't heard that one before.
It's always Okereafor, isn't it? Okereafor.
Yeah,
Okereafor. Just pronunciation on the A, I guess. But
there you go.
Okereafor.
Yeah. That's how I say it all the time. But I understand people, commentators get a little off. But I've heard every pronunciation. Teddy O's the easy one. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Mate, I always do that. I've done it with Martin Bountneck as well. I just go Marty B. I just keep everything super cool. But we will make sure we get that pronunciation right when we give you the razzmatazz entrance. But let's dive in. You've had a decent 6 or 7 days, I would say. So part of this Great Britain basketball team that's qualified for EuroBasket 2022. In nail-biting fashion. So thank you, Luke Nelson, and thank you to Luke Nelson's beautiful left hand. You joined the history books for equaling the consecutive games record for the national team held by Billy McInnes for 45 years, and also joining the 200 assist club on the international scene. Having had a few days to digest it all, it's a lot. What are your feelings on it all?
I feel great, man. It's a blessing at first, 45-year record, 49 games straight. That's a huge blessing to be healthy that entire time and be available. I feel proud, honestly, to play for the country. The assist part is something that was going to come naturally because of my style of play. I'm a pass first point guard, so I expected it to get to that number. Didn't aim for that number because I didn't know it was a record, and that's just part of the game. But I'm ecstatic over the past 6 days. Like you said, it's been great.
Yeah, it's been awesome for you guys. And so what do you think that this group has had in this particular qualifier rounds that perhaps maybe past teams haven't? It's such a big step to take now. What do you think has been the difference in this group?
I think everybody's taken playing for the country real personal. They've bought into their roles. They haven't got any egos, and we've got a core group of guys. I've been saying that for the past 5 days or or over a long time now that the same core of about 6 to 8 guys have been in the program, and when you have that consistency and chemistry, it builds, and you know you have a feel for each other's game. You know what the goals are, and I think a lot of people are pretty much tired of the disrespect that the national team gets when we play. You know, we lose a game and it's almost, oh, it's GB, it's expected. They play football, and it's like in the back of your brain every game and every window you want to shatter that statement and shatter that stereotype of the team. So I think coming together and having that goal and them same group of guys and focusing on getting every win possible and getting the job done has changed the program over the past maybe 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, literally, it was amazing to see, and not just that game, but the whole qualifying campaign really has just been really well handled by you guys as a team, your staff. Just absolutely loved it. Look, I'm sure you were more than aware of the records surrounding you during these vital games. So I really want to pick your brain on how you handled it. Did you just put it into the back of your mind? Was it a distraction? Because I think for young aspiring athletes, we need to understand that you have to decompartmentalize certain facets of the game. So there's so much going on. There's your individual performance, there's the team performance, and then there's all this pressure with all the records and the accolades if you do reach that level. So how did you kind of handle the last 6 or 7 days?
Yeah. First, quick shout out to Jamie Smith because he's the big stats guy. He knows everything about the stats on our team. He's also an assistant. So he told me about the record, or that I was approaching the record maybe 2 windows ago. So maybe in like November. But that was something that was just in the back of my mind. I just always wanted to be at camp, play with the same group of guys. When you're playing like in the BBL or in France for some of the players, or in Germany, you're on different teams. So when you come together, you have that same core, and that's who you play with consistently. So I didn't worry too much about the records, but once I knew that the record was there, it was like, okay, stay healthy, go and chase the team. You have the opportunity to be in the history books, and hopefully we beat the record, and then I don't know, it lasts another 45 years, and somebody's doing a podcast talking about beating mine. So
legacy right there.
as far as chasing it, it wasn't in my head to chase it because the game is just to be played, and you control what you control every window, every game. And coach before practice before the France game, before the Germany game, took time out in to acknowledge that I was on the record and the commitment to the team and the team's commitment to me. And so that was great. But as far as thinking about it so much, the goal is to qualify first, and then just being part of that team throughout the process was a blessing. So I don't think about it too much, but it's pretty cool when you do think about it,
Oh yeah, it's awesome, man.
Dope stuff, man. But while we're on the topic about GB, let's talk about Mark Studel.
Yeah.
Obviously, he unexpectedly took over February 2020 due to Nate Rankin's commitment to his G League duties. And I just want to talk about the transformation you've seen from him as a coach from the first Germany game to the last France game that you guys played last week.
Yeah. I think Stu just brings a passion for, not saying Nate doesn't know whatever, but he's in here like day in and day out. He's so passionate about the league and basketball in the country. You saw the picture with him and Ovi embracing, and he's got almost tears in his eyes. And he's like that in post-game speeches, like how much he cares about the team and the program. So the transition was easy because we saw where his heart was. We saw how sincere he was about the league and playing for the country and making a statement. And obviously, he's got pressure on him to win those games. He's got pressure on him to come in and step into a role where you're expected to win, and you don't want to be that person that's, oh, it's just GB, we're expected to lose, whatever. And you've got a scapegoat of saying, oh, maybe this coach isn't here. So that transition was kind of easy because he was also the assistant coach for Nate. So he's in the program. He understands how we play. He understands the guy. We've got a great relationship with him. And he checks in with everybody during the season. So he's always texting us how's the season going, or he's watching games. And it's pretty easy playing for the guy.
Yeah, I got an opportunity to play for Mark a couple years ago for the Bucks team. And so I've seen him cry a couple of times. He's an emotional guy. He wears his heart on his sleeve.
I love it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask you the burning question, which we've seen on social media channels and everywhere out there. Obviously, it's a tough situation for Nate, being over across the water, being for the G League team. But Mark is here, And not only has he taken over, but he's proven he can get the job done. Do you think he should get the gig full time?
That's a tough question. I think from social media, it's easier to see. It's easier to make comments and to make assumptions, but people don't really know what goes on behind the scenes. They don't know how much Nate is still involved. You know, we had a Zoom call before the window with Nate and with the whole team about the goal and what the focus was on to get the job done. So I think Mark and Nate, they still talk a lot and he's still very much involved. I think we've shown that we can play for either coach. The style of the play is pretty much the same. Each coach is going to have a different philosophy and tweaking little things here and there. But I don't think I'm in the best position to say who should be the head coach. But I think when you have the same group of guys and the same coaching staff around, more or less, we're going to play the same way. And the goal for the coaching staff is the same as the players. So from that perspective, it doesn't matter who the coach is in charge when the goal is the same and both of them are very passionate about the direction of the team.
Exactly. Well said.
Very, very diplomatic, I thought, but he's absolutely right. Let's sort of change pace a little bit and talk some Bristol Flyers here real quick. So Coach Andreas has been with you on the GB national team. How did you come about signing for the Flyers? You know, was this kind of a number of conversations, you know, it'd be great to happen one day, or did this just really happen quite quickly?
Well, looking back now, I think it kind of, the seed was planted a little bit, maybe at GB. We spoke while I was in Greece still, and we was on a plane back from a window, and he was telling me about the plans for the team. You know, that they've got a new facility that they're planning to build, and they want to be in Europe soon. So he was kind of pitching the long-term plan. I don't know if he was recruiting then now, if I look back at it, but that's kind of how it started. That's kind of how we built a relationship. He's been around for the windows for a long time now, so I've always got a chemistry with him. But then with Corona and stuff like that, I didn't have a job, so it was like I need to get ready for the window, and it would be great to play, period. So he approached me and was like, yo, can we get this done? And the call was made, and the next 2 days I was on the train. So that's pretty much how it happened.
Awesome. No, it's a great job. I'm sure he was planting that seed, I reckon. He had his eye on you for a while.
He knew what he was doing.
He's a very, very intelligent man. That's one thing I will say. I got to know him quite well over my time as a player and a coach, and he's a very intelligent man. So well done him. Securing yourself and Ben Mockford, I think, you know, fans, not just of the Flyers, but around the league had big expectations for this season. I think it's fair to say it's not clicked yet the way I'm sure you would want. What do you think is holding you guys back, and what needs to happen for things to flourish? Because it doesn't seem like you guys are too far away, if that makes sense.
I think, like you said, everybody expects for something straight away. You know, they don't understand that chemistry takes time. It can't just be me and Ben come from GB or wherever and expect it to take over an entire team of guys still trying to prove themselves in this league or move on to another league. So it's going to take time. I'm not like phased. The game, we've got 2/3 of the season left, and we've proved that in spells we can play really well. We've won games, and you know, we've taken Newcastle down to the wire. It's been closer game. So I think we're getting there. I think eventually we'll get there. I think we're pretty close. I think we're gelling well. We're talking about things that might not click, and then we're changing them. Obviously, we had some injuries too. A lot of guys were out for a month at a time, so that kind of stuff has impacted us. But as far as where we are, it's not where we want to be, but I see us getting over the hump pretty soon. And once we do, I think those expectations that people have will be met. But at the same time, it does take time to build a team and build chemistry and philosophies and different things. So I'm not worried about that so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're right. You know, most fans, they assume that you got a great team on paper. You look at guys' resumes, you throw them within a team, and all of a sudden it's gonna, you know, you're gonna have this magic. But like you mentioned, chemistry takes time. And for you personally, obviously you played your whole career outside of Great Britain, and I'm sure that you probably drawn your own opinions about the talent within the BBL and the style of play. I'm interested to know about how your perspective has changed since now that you're actually in the league.
Yeah, I think social media is very dangerous when it comes to basketball. You know, you have everybody's a critic, everybody has they're a warrior. They can say whatever they want. So it does impact you, and it does plant little seeds in your head where you're like, oh, this league's not that good. This league's not that good. And then you come over and play, and you're like, well, that's not true at all. You know, the guys here are talented. The guys here, you've got MVPs that's played in multiple countries. You've got other GB internationals that's played in multiple countries. The league is faster than I expected. It's much quicker than I expected, actually. Everybody's more up and down. You have to scout pretty well, and you have to know what people do the same way you have to do in another country. It's almost, for me, I think it's almost more comparable. Hopefully I don't get too much criticism for this, but to the NBA in terms of it's up and down, and you have athletes versus you have X's and O's, and everybody's trying to do one thing, you know? So from that perspective, that's changed how I view the league, and it's been it's been fun for me to learn too. It's a different league, and it's a different style completely. You have, so that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I can actually see the adjustment period for you in particular. And on this show, I've actually mentioned several times that I feel like you need to score more from that position because the BBL has always been a guards league. But how difficult has the transition been for you? Because obviously you mentioned on the top that you're a pass first point guard. You played in the top leagues where the game is a lot more technical and the point guards are more of a facilitator. So how has that transition been for you?
I think I'm slowly transitioning to that now. I think I'm finally getting comfortable in the league. In the last couple games, I've scored more or been more aggressive. That's due to a couple guys being injured, so me having to be more aggressive. But at the same time, it's like I still have to play my game. I don't want to change it too much to force anything and then not play my game and be who I am. But at the same time, the point guards in this league, like you said, are scorers. So it's something that is a work in progress. It's happening. I know everybody's probably expecting a couple more points, and they will get there. I'm not so much fussed about that because at the same time, when I first got to the team, like I said, I have to understand how they play to best fit and best accommodate them guys. If I just come in and start scoring, it might throw the chemistry off with this guy not getting shots, that guy not getting shots. So it's about picking the right times and knowing your teammates almost 100% so that you can be effective when you're playing. But as far as scoring, I'm not so much worried about that. That will come.
Yeah, I think for the casual fan, I think it is sort of easy to say that they feel like you should do more or whatever else like that. But I think what they should understand is what you're essentially saying is, one, you're playing the long game. No. And then I love that kind of explanation. I don't think people should take offense you saying about, it's like an NBA type, because I've always said that is, the UK is slightly different to Europe. I've played in a couple of different European countries where, like you said, X's and O's, you might run that clock a little bit more, whereas here the pace is quicker. You have to make those adjustments. So I think that's really good for the listeners to hear is that what you don't want is somebody coming in and trying to completely dominate the team and take away the culture. Do you know what I mean? That's not what you're about, and that's not what you've shown in Great Britain.
Several teams, like when you watch them play, and that's the nature of the sport, it's very up and down. In certain countries, the best teams in those countries actually play up and down. It's only the mid-level teams or the teams on the cusp of the playoffs that try to slow it down to counter those fast teams. You understand? So from that perspective, everybody and the players that we have a lot of athletes. So that's how we play. That's our benefit. So running, jumping, making fast plays, not thinking so much in terms of just doing what you're capable of, and that's a good thing. Is good for you. It doesn't knock you out at all. But if you go into another league and you happen to be on a 6th place team kind of thing, and you're playing a top level team that runs fast, you want to slow them down because maybe you don't have the depth, maybe you don't have the experience to keep going at that level. But here, it's more teams have that kind of speed, have the endurance, and have the depth to do it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we've actually seen with Team GB, you guys take on that identity by starting with a really small lineup and kind of looking like a BBL team, playing really fast, and obviously it's been effective for you guys.
Yeah. When Nate took over, he wanted us to just run and in the first maybe 10 seconds get a shot up. And when you have smaller guys, you can pick up full court, you can defend, you can switch, especially when you have guys like Miles and Ovi at the 4 or the 5, and then we can rotate quicker. You're quicker. And then the second unit can slow it down, and then you can control the tempo of the game throughout the entire game. So I think it works. It's proven, and in the BBL, it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And look, we can't have a Bristol Flyers player on and not talk about Joel, great hair Osborne, and the media team that they've got down there. You know, in my opinion, they are the level for all the teams in the league to aspire to. You know, how vital in today's game do you think it is to have a strong media presence?
Yeah, well, shout out to Joe. He's a legend. He's from the first day I
Amazing.
walked in, he had me on the camera walking in the gym, doing media day, and he's got TikTok going. He's got it booming now. I think it's important for media to push the sport just so it can get out there as much as possible and grow the game. He's done a great job of doing photo shoots or catching practices or game picks and all that kind of stuff is what we see with bigger teams and bigger clubs in Europe or in the NBA. So it's to get to that level, you have to start somewhere. You know, every team is slowly getting there and they're doing more. I see Newcastle post a lot, Lions post a lot, Leicester Riders had a lot of posts before. Joe Pincham, I don't know if they do it as much, but it's vital. It's what you need,
Yeah.
especially the technology you have today, and how much of it is online, and how much word of mouth gets spread on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. That kind of stuff blows you up, and you can go viral from a play. You know, so that kind of thing very important. And branding is everything nowadays.
Yeah, I think like the vital thing for me now as well to grow the league is we need to get to know the characters within the league. You know, that's one of the really big things that me and Drew talked about early on with starting the podcast. You know, we want the listeners to get to know our players, get to know the staff, get to know our coaches, even get to know the media teams, you know, so talent like Joel. So I think it's really important, you know, from that perspective. And then also as well, when we're looking at the things like the Sky Sports, you know, you've got Drew and other players coming on, being able to do the analysis and grow their individual brand now as well, which is, you know, we've never seen that in the BBL. So that's really exciting, I think.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. It's even giving you avenues outside of basketball. You know, Kieran now does the Sky Sports commentating. I think Gino did another one of the Sky Sports things. So it gives people outlets, it gets you seen, and it gives you more ideas to think outside of basketball, not just on the court, and you just be stuck as a player. People really get to know your personality, and you get to experience more life than just on the court, you know, inside of lines.
Yeah, I think it's great. Yeah. Drew, did you feel threatened by Gino's swag that he brought the other day? I mean, ooh.
I gave him props before I went to the locker room. I went over there and I said, "Hey, I like that. I like that outfit." So,
Was there a touch of jealousy? You've been missing for a while, you know, because you've been on playing duty, you know? Was it?
Never, man. I even said it during my halftime interview that it's actually a great thing that so many guys are getting the opportunity to spread their wings and do something that they may never get the chance to do. And one thing that I've always felt was missing in this league is that, you know, for the greats, for guys like Charles Smith, Defoe, guys like that, like they should be able to transition as something and
Yeah.
staying within the league when their career is done, you know, and there's never been any kind of platform. So hopefully this is just the beginning for many guys, not only myself, but, you know, a lot of guys around the league. But moving on to you, Teddy, obviously fans might not know that you finished your career off at Rider, where you actually had a great college career there. And we've actually had a couple of guests on the show who's transferred as graduate transfer. Gino Crandell and Christian Killing both transferred, in particular their final season. But for you, what was the motivation for you to transfer from VCU to Rider?
Playing time. I think that's maybe the number one reason everybody transfers. They want to, apart from graduates, they probably want to experience something else. But my motivation was definitely playing time. I wanted a bigger role. Um, I don't think it was maybe the best decision maybe to go VCU just because of the how big it was at the time. And when you're young, you just want to go to the biggest school, you know. But granted, I learned a lot. I think every experience is to teach you something. So from there, I learned defensive skills. You know, that was a defensive. Uh, the culture was all about defense there. So that's two years of expanding that side of my game, and then being able to transition to Rider where I can play defense, but then work on offense, and then play more and have a bigger role and try and lead the team. And effectively, that's what I did there. So that was cool. I wouldn't take back none of it really.
Was Shaka Smart there? Was he the
Yeah,
coach there at VCU when you were there?
he was the they went to the Final Four, and then the year after that is when I went there.
Oh, okay.
It was big time, man. It was big time.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty
Man,
cool.
I've seen
Huge,
those
man.
crazy Navy SEAL workouts on the
Yeah,
YouTube. You part of that, man, or what?
yeah, we did like the Hell Week for like
Hell Week, that's right.
yeah, a week. You wake up at 5 a.m. and you go run in the mud. You go to jump in the
Oh
pool,
man.
carry your teammates, carry the coaching staff. The coaching staff do it. The media staff do it. Everybody does it. So those kind of experiences stay with you. You know, they build like a toughness, and this it's what you go for. It's what you remember, and then
Yeah.
you use that as you move forward in life and in basketball. So it's pretty cool.
I loved it. Did you really find that invaluable then? Did you think, or was it something that you look back on now and you realize how important it was?
Maybe in the moment you don't think of it as much. You know, you're just like, I just keep
Survival.
doing it. Yeah, yeah. And then after you're like, whoa, that was pretty cool. Because then for the rest of the season, you remember those little things. And when you might need a little push, you're like, okay, this guy's got me. I was just carrying him at 5 o'clock in the morning when he was wet, and we're doing bear crawls on a football field, and it's like, oh man. But everybody's bought in. You know, everybody's on your side, and everybody's got your back. So from that perspective, the team's really close, and then you build off of that, and that's when it starts.
No, I love it. That's a great explanation. I didn't realize you were there for Hell Week. That's exciting. We'll have to pick this up off air. Anyway, before we let you go, Teddy, listen, let's finish by talking about this great opportunity for you to be on Talksport 2. You know, I'm a huge fan of Talksport. Listen to it every morning religiously. I'm really excited for you. So just tell us a little bit about that. Have a moment to plug it.
Yeah. So catch me on. No, I'm joking. Catch me on. Yeah, every Thursday, no, every fortnight, starting next week. I'm going to be doing like a 10-minute roundup of the BBL, maybe the games and results or expectations, and then talking about the NBA and what's been happening on in the last 2 weeks. So that will happen every 2 weeks starting next week. Got that through Sonia. Shameless plug. I'm going to just shout her out real quick because she helped me big time, and looking forward to it, man. I'm excited.
Hey, don't be shy, man. Give the BBL show a little plug on that, man. We appreciate you.
Shameless plug, but I'm with that, Drew. Well done, well played. But listen, we'd love to have you on for a little bit longer, but we'll have to check in with you a little bit later in the season. It's been great to have you join us on the show. Good luck for the rest of the season, and
Yeah.
congrats on an incredible week with the national team. I think I can speak for all of us here at the show, our listeners, of how proud we are of you and the guys. So take care, mate. We'll see you again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, Teddy. See you on Tuesday, man.
I see you Tuesday. Yes, sir.
Okay, great guest right there, Drew. We love getting to know the man behind the rep. And he did say he liked Teddy O, so all I need is the rubber stamp from Martin Bountneck on Marty B, and I've bagged another 2 nicknames, and let the socials run rife as they steal my swag. Okay, fans mailbag. We are going to move to a deadline day focus. So I've mentioned it briefly in the Marriott Minute, but we are going to deep dive here and rank the 3 power moves at the death of the signing window. So let's start with Leicester Riders. Zach Jackson out, sadly injured. Mustafa Heron in. First thoughts, Mr. Lasker?
Firstly, condolences for Zach Jackson. That's tough. Getting an injury like that right before the deadline, and having to go home and leave in a great environment, great club, and the top team in the league. But that's part of the game. And the first thing that comes to mind is, I don't know this kid personally, but from the whispers around our camp, this guy can play. Out of St. John's, a bona fide scorer. And when you look at it, when you look at Leicester's roster, if you look at their 4 Americans, Zach was probably the one that they can win without. He was kind of the guy that flew under the radar this season. And so if you can bring a guy in to upgrade at that position, tells me that Leicester Riders are going for the league championship.
Yeah, I mean, they have to put trophies in the cabinet. That's what they do at Leicester Riders. But for me, pretty bummed out about losing Zach Jackson. Like, I really enjoyed watching him play. I think that early on, him and Johnson had a really good synergy. They could switch in and out, or they could complement and work together for each other. So I really like that element. But I think going into, say, the last month of watching the Riders, they do look very heavily dependent on Gino Crandell.
Very.
Um, I think William Lee is just as integral, but I think that from a scoring perspective and also from a leadership perspective, it does seem that Gino runs that ship, um, a lot. So if this is going to be the player that comes in and can add some real punch and some real spice at the right times, obviously he's got to come in and fit into the Leicester Riders culture and figure out where his shots are coming from. But if you're looking at Fauzon and you're looking at Fraser, they're starting to settle in really, really nicely. It's taken them,
Mhm.
a little bit of time, but Fauzon especially has been looking really good the last couple of games. Looks like a really good fit. So if Heron can figure out where he fits here and he brings that scoring punch, I think, like you said, the Riders are going to be dangerous down this stretch, and they are going for silverware, no
And
doubts.
and one thing just to add, the biggest thing that he brings is he brings a fresh new approach. He brings that vigor to the team because right now it's tough on teams. It's tough on every team. The schedule is overwhelming. Playing 3-4 games a week, guys are tired across the league. You see injuries across the board, and if you can bring in a fresh body, a guy that's been sitting out all season, and he's just excited to play basketball. And so this signing is going to help the Riders down the stretch, no doubt.
Love it. So let's move on to the Manchester Giants. So they've added experienced big man, Aaron Geremipor. Comes with a big tag. You buying the brand on this one, Mr. Lasker?
I'm not sure. I can't say that I actually know this guy. I've heard of him, but from what I see on Twitter, he's a pretty big deal. I just hope that, with Manchester losing two Americans, and it kind of reminds me of the early episode we had with Jamie Edwards about how he wants to build consistency throughout that roster. He wants guys to be there for a number of years. I hope that this is a signing that he's an English guy from Manchester, so there's no reason for him to leave if the environment is right, if the situation is stable. So I just hope when I heard of this name, what came to mind initially was the Lithuanian twins at London City Royals, and that wasn't really a good fit for the Royals. And they had the big name that came with the cachet, but from what I hear, those guys were flying in during the week to come play games, and that's not what you want if you're going to be a championship team, if you're trying to build culture. So, I mean, if he can bring on court what his name has brought off court, it should be a bonus for Manchester. Not for this season, for just moving on down the road.
Yeah, that's my thoughts. I'm hoping this is a long-term move. I think if I saw a tweet by Jamie Edwards as well that it seems like he's been working on this for a good while now, and probably comes at a good time. You lose Hexham and Brady, and whether it's the right thing, the wrong thing, like whatever's happening in those situations, you've got to try and move past that and continue to build on your culture. That was really, you could tell that the pride was deep in the interview that we did with him. Um, just be interesting to see how he adapts to the league. There's a lot of guys that come in and they take a while to settle down because it's not what they perhaps expect. So I'm hoping that this is a player that's coming in to raise a franchise and not a guy that's sort of on the downslide coming in to sort of retire. So we'll see what we get from Aaron, but certainly excited, like you said, kind of big deal on the socials, returning back to Manchester. There's some great story there, and they're another team that just they need a little something right now. They need a bit of a push. They've had a little bit of a drop, couple of bad results that they will want to right the ship and make sure that they're in that playoffs, and in a good position in the playoffs. They want to make sure that they get a good draw right there. Worcester Wolves, they add Elijah Burns. So with KJ Lawson's short stay over through injury, Have the Wolfpack strengthened?
Well, I hope so, because the Wolves have looked fantastic this weekend, and this is some momentum for them to build upon. And with this signing, they're saved by the bell because the deadline was Friday, so you can't make any more new signings after this weekend. And it's unfortunate for KJ Lawson because I felt like when we played them a couple of weeks ago, he was having his breakout party. He had a fantastic game against us. And I think the following game, I'm not sure what kind of injury he sustained, but obviously it must be a long-term injury for them to make this move. And I apologize if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've seen anything across the socials or a statement from Wolves regarding KJ Lawson if they've replaced him for Burns or what his situation is. So I apologize if there has been a statement, but I haven't seen it. And I think that just goes on to the conversation that you and I have had off air many times and on this show, that there needs to be a little bit more transparency around this league. There needs to be, I feel like there's just like the NBA, when there's an injury, there's an announcement across the league and how long someone is going to be out. And so I'd like to see the league move in that direction. If there's going to be a guy out for 3 weeks, then, let's announce it. Let's say what the injury is. Let's just have some transparency for the fans that follow this league.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do find that element strange. It's inherited old BBL thing that's just been around for a while that I've never really understood. So yeah, I think transparency would be great for everybody. The fans, usually the fans have a great connection with particular players as well, and would like to understand what that situation is. I appreciate sometimes you've got to manage it politically, but you can still put out a statement on those situations, whatever it may be. This situation with the KJ Lawson, I'm just kind of putting two and two together. I haven't seen anything either, but I saw Parks playing, and I could only imagine that between reading between the lines with Burns, unless there's some sort of passport involved in it, then it would have to be Lawson or Parks. So see Parks playing, I guess that answers that question for me. I agree with you. The last couple of games, Worcester have been playing. It seems like they're back into their rhythm, back playing the way that they like to play. I wouldn't sleep on, the influence that Daniel Thompson-May has, because he comes into a game and he's looking to do whatever the team needs him to do. And I think having somebody like that being able to sort of get out of people's way sometimes, from a playing perspective, is working wonders for the team. I do look at those Americans. Anderson seemed to come in and settle in pretty quickly. Kimball, a little bit up and down. Parks has come to the party quite slowly, but they all now seem to be playing with some great consistency. And I'm hoping that Burns can come in and just hit the ground running and give them a really good playoff run. Remember, I put them high on my list. I put them in the around about that fourth, fifth position. With their record at the moment, that's going to be pretty tough to achieve. But I still think that they can go on a really strong run, and you would not want to play this team in the playoffs. You would not. And if Burns can add an element of what they're already developed this weekend, then boy, I'm excited for them. It gets them right back on the horse and right back in the mix. So I'm saying Wolfpack, you strengthened. Okay, that's me done for this week, guys. As always, we appreciate you so much. Drew, lead us out.
Come back and see us next week, guys, for episode 26. Can you believe that?
Crazy.
As we celebrate March 8th is International Women's Day. So we have a special edition pod that we dedicate to the women in the BBL who have major roles. So look out for that episode, as we're really looking forward to that. Also looking forward to a live event that we're planning with the league of having a online panel. So exciting things coming up to celebrate these women across the league that's doing great things, and keep it going. You have our support here from the BBL show, and players across the league. We want you to know that we support you guys as International Women's Days approaches. Until then, we sign off on the show.
The show.